Hi, this is Jenny, and this is one of the first episodes of the St. Anne's cooking show. And I'm going to teach you how to make beer bread, which is a really easy, quick bread that you can make when you're late getting home from work. Okay, the first thing to do is to set your oven at 375. My daughter's taping this, so we're going to laugh a lot. So, 375, get that good and hot. You start with basically flour and some baking powder, which acts as a leavener. And then you add something fizzy. It can be beer, it can be seltzer, it can be, I've done it with sparkling apple cider before, and it's really fun to mix and match your flours and your different kinds of beers. I'm a really lame beer drinker, so I only have Corona Light in the house. But it works.
That's ironic.
And generally you want your beer to be room temperature, but that never happens at my house. It doesn't last that long. So you're going to need a bread pan, some butter, flour, baking powder. Make sure, look at the date and make sure that it's still active. And what else? Butter, salt. And then today I'm gonna add in some fresh dill and some mild cheddar, which makes it kind of fun. So you first get your flour. If you use bread flour, it's gonna be a little chewier, which is fine. This turns into a very crumbly loaf, which is really good for toasting the next day. And you start with 3 cups of flour. I'm gonna combine whole wheat, which I have a little bit of. You don't really want to do more than 1/3 of the flour as a heavy flour like whole wheat, because then it just sort of collapses. So I'm going to use 1/2 cup of whole wheat. And then I'm going to throw in some wheat germ, which makes it kind of chewy. Oatmeal is a good one to add too. Even though this says rice, it's really wheat germ. And then the other 2 cups, I'm just going to use regular all-purpose flour. This is a 1/2 cup measure, so that's 1 full cup, 2 full cups of white, regular old flour. Then you are going to add a tablespoon of baking powder, and a teaspoon of salt. I always like the kosher salt. You can add pepper if you want. You know, spices are good, oregano, whatever. And then, because the dill can get a little sticky, and my dill's looking a little tired too, I like to mix that in with the flour. So dill goes really well with cottage cheese, but I don't have any right now. So putting the dill in at this stage kind of lets the flour coat it, so it doesn't all end up in the bottom of the bread. Like that. Now, the key to this bread is, oh wait, and we need 1/4 cup of sugar. And you can use, brown sugar's kind of good. Ooh, maybe I'll use, no, I'll just put regular in. Maybe I'll do, and it just kind of depends on how sweet you want it. I think I'm going to put that in, and then maybe a little bit of brown sugar. Like that.
Smells delicious.
Does it? All right, so this is the fun part. And if you don't have one of these tools, my stepmother gave this to me, and I use it all the time. And you set your grater here, and you take a stick of cold butter, And you need, I think it's, 2 tablespoons. And you grate the butter. You can also grate it right into there. But it's easy to do with a stick because then you can measure it against the, oops. You can measure it against the wrapper, see? Oh, so I've used a little bit over 2 tablespoons.
That's a cool trick.
But nobody ever complained about too much butter.
That's true. Who always said that? What cooking chef? Dina Paul or something?
Paula Deen, that's right. She liked her butter, didn't she? Mm-hmm. So, and that's also good to put the butter into the dry ingredients first because it coats it and then they sort of float around the loaf. And you have my permission to add butter to the bread when you're done because there's no such thing as too much butter. Now this is the fun part. So then you take your beer, and like Julia Child said, you can taste it. And you just pour it right in there. See? Oh, looks so good. You stir that around. I've also put craisins and nuts.
Put cheese in it?
This one I put, oh yeah, I have to put the cheese, don't I? I should have put the cheese in earlier. That's okay. Last week I made a loaf, and the only sparkly thing I had was mandarin orange seltzer. And I made it with some craisins and walnuts. I toasted a few walnuts, and oh my gosh, it was so good. Bit of cheese in there. And it comes together really quickly. Okay, and then you take a regular loaf pan, which you can either spray or, as I mentioned, I like my butter, so I just butter it. As you can see, this pan has made a lot of loaves of beer bread. And then you just, oops, wait, I didn't get all the bottom parts. Oops. Ooh, I really didn't get it all. Oh my gosh, doesn't that look good? Mm-hmm. Okay. And it will rise a little bit, not a whole lot. It makes sort of a flat loaf. But you just spread it out. You can put stuff on the top. Like sometimes I put Parmesan cheese on there and it makes sort of a nice crust. All right, so now that's what it looks like. Ta-da. So our oven isn't quite ready. See how fast that was? So we'll pause it for a minute. I'll put it in the oven, and then when I come back, you will see what the finished loaf looks like. So we've baked the beer bread at 375 for 50 minutes. And I'm gonna pull it out now. There we go. And it looks like this. How do I turn off my oven? Okay. You can see all the cheesiness.
angles.
At all the angles. Now, look at this. So like I said, it's really crumbly. Look at it. Oh, it's so good. And then you want to try a piece, Phoebes?
Yeah, sure.
Ah.
For me?
For you. I'll try this one. But oh, it's so good. So there you have it, beer bread. And now I'm gonna eat it. Especially like the crust. Thanks for watching.
Next time on Cooking with Jennie.
I'm gonna teach you how to make no knead bread that comes out looking like this. How delicious does that look? So that's next time. Bye.